All right, so today we're diving into something, well, kind of spooky, honestly. You guys wanted us to really unpack Foucault's idea of the Panopticon. And trust me, this isn't just some, like, abstract theory. It's crazy relevant to, like, how we live now.
It really is, yeah. We're talking about a building design, right, from the 1700s. But it somehow, like, perfectly captures how power works now, like, in our world, with everyone online and everything.
Totally. And the thing is, Foucault, he, like, stumbled onto this whole thing. He was researching something totally different, like 18th century hospitals. And he kept finding all these blueprints for this this weird design, the Panopticon.
It's wild. Like, he's looking at, where they put the beds, what treatments they used, and bam, it's Jeremy Bentham's Panopticon.
Okay, so for anyone who hasn't spent time thinking about prison design, I imagine this. It's a circle, the prison, with the watchtower in the middle. One guard, just one, could theoretically see into every cell all the time.
But here's the thing. The prisoners can't see into the tower. They never know if they're actually being watched.
Okay, so creepy for sure, right? But, like, hold on. Foucault, he realized this wasn't about someone actually watching all the time. It was about what that possibility does to you.
Totally. Imagine you're a prisoner, right? You can't see the guard, so is this the moment they're looking?
You totally overthink everything. Like, can they see me right now? Am I allowed to scratch my nose?
Exactly. And that's the whole point. Foucault said this not knowing, it makes you discipline yourself.
So you become your own warden, basically.
Kind of, yeah. And what really got Foucault was he saw this in other places too back then. Hospitals, schools, they had this panopticon thing going on.
And this is where it gets really interesting for us. Foucault said the panopticon, it's not just about prisons. It's like a metaphor for how power works everywhere in society.
He called it this microphysics of control. And it's even more true now, Like, are we ever not being watched? Social media, cameras everywhere, even just like open plan offices, it all plays into this.
Whoa, okay, you just blew my mind a little bit. I'm picturing, like, Instagram right now. Am I only posting this because I want to? Or is it because I'm thinking about who will see it, how many likes I'll get? It's like I'm always performing for some invisible audience.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's not about someone literally forcing you to do anything anymore. It's like we've internalized that feeling of being watched. We police ourselves now.
Okay, so we've gone from creepy prisons to Instagram really fast. Where do we even go from here?
So Foucault, he was really interested in how this panopticon idea, how it played out with work,
Work?
Yeah, like he said in older societies, pre-industrial, right, work was different. Lots of small workshops. People had way more autonomy. They worked at their own pace. No one constantly looking over their shoulder.
Oh, that reminds me. I read about this thing, St. Monday, I think it was. Basically, workers in, like, some parts of Europe, they just wouldn't show up on Mondays.
Exactly. Now, that might seem like, I don't know, some weird history trivia. But for Foucault, it was resistance, you see. It was pushing back against someone telling you when to work, how to work.
Interesting.
Then comes the factory system, right? Big open spaces, all about efficiency.
And supervisors, I'm guessing?
Oh, yeah. Suddenly you've got the panopticon, not just as a metaphor, but like the actual building.
Wow. So it went from this idea to, like, brick and mortar reality.
Exactly. And that change, workshop to factory, that's a huge shift in power dynamics. It's not just do this task anymore. It's about creating an environment. You're constantly watching yourself, making sure you're meeting the system's expectations.
It's making me think about all those productivity apps, time tracking, all that.
Yeah.
Are we all just stuck in a giant panopticon now, but, like, we built it ourselves?
That's a really good question, actually. And I think Foucault would say the scariest part of the panopticon, it's not the walls, it's not the guard, it's that it gets in your head. Yeah. It changes how you think, even when you're not sure anyone's actually watching.
Okay, so we've covered prisons, schools, Instagram, even our jobs. The panopticon is everywhere. But is it all bad? Could this idea of being observed, could it ever be used for good?
That's the million-dollar question, right? To be fair to Bentham, the guy who came up with the panopticon design, he thought it could be a tool for good, for social reform even.
Really?
Yeah, he believed that making behavior more transparent, holding people accountable through the possibility of being watched, he thought that could lead to a more just, more fair society.
So it's not the tool itself, it's how you use it.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. Bentham, he never said who should be the one watching the panopticon. He made the system, this machine for control, right? But he left the evil overlord position, shall we say. He left it blank.
That's kind of terrifying when you think about it.
It is. because it means the Panopticon could be used for anything. Good, bad, it all depends on who has the power to look, to observe.
So how do we deal with that? If we're living in this Panopticon world, how do we make sure it's not used against us?
That's where Foucault's work is so important. He said, first step is awareness. We got to be aware of these power dynamics, even the subtle ones.
Recognize the Panopticon, even when it doesn't look like a prison.
Exactly.
Okay, so step 1, be aware. What's step 2? What do we do with that awareness?
And that is the really interesting part. That's what we're going to get into right now, actually.
All right, so we're back and Shrey. I feel like we're about to have some serious epiphanies. We said awareness is key, right, with these Panopticon systems. But then what? What do we do?
See, for Foucault, awareness wasn't just about seeing the systems. It was also about, how do we fight back? How do we use that knowledge to our advantage?
Right.
And this goes back to that point. The Panopticon isn't just about someone controlling you.
It's about how we're all part of it.
Yeah. Exactly. Foucault, he was fascinated by how power works in these, sneaky ways. It's not always some guy in a tower, literally, right? It's all around us and how we interact, the rules we follow, even when we don't realize.
Okay, so less Big Brother, more like we're all kind of complicit.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really deep. The Panopticon, it doesn't just change how you act, it changes how you think about yourself.
Oh, wow. So not just changing our behavior, but who we are deep down.
Right. And we see this all the time now, right? The pressure to look a certain way online, all the tracking we do, fitness, productivity, even our sleep.
He's like, we built our own little personal Panopticons.
Yeah.
Always judging ourselves, comparing ourselves to what exactly?
And that's the thing, right? It's easy to get caught in that trap thinking these standards are natural or something. But a lot of it's made up, socially constructed, not always good for us.
So, okay, what's the way out? If awareness is step 1, how do we actually get to a place of, more freedom?
Yeah.
More agency.
Foucault, he didn't have a simple answer, but he left clues. He loved finding those moments of resistance, those cracks where people said, nope, not playing by your rules.
Like those St. Monday folks.
Yeah, exactly. Or think about how people use social media now to challenge the usual narratives, to create spaces for voices that don't usually get heard.
To take back some of that power.
Right. So even in this Panopticon world, that possibility is always there.
This has been, wow, a lot to think about. I kind of want to go off the grid now.
I hear that. But even if we can't escape completely, just being aware, that's the first step to taking back some control.
So listeners, next time you feel that invisible gaze, ask yourself, who benefits from me watching myself like this? And is there any way, even a small way, I can resist? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time.